guys, welcome back to Living Our American Dream. Matt here. I got Mike back working with me. He's running the camera today. We're gonna start on this project that I talked about in the last video. This is gonna be the trailer for our RTV. We took this frame, set it up here, this metal frame that we've got, and we need to cut this thing down both narrower and shorter to get to the ideal size that we want to use for our RTV and getting it through our trails and keeping the capacity at a reasonable level for the axle that we bought. So the first thing that we need to do for this thing is we need to take the cutoff wheel and we need to cut off all this extra stuff. There's 4 pieces of metal on here and about 9 pieces of metal on the bottom. So we'll cut these off, flip it over, cut all that stuff off. Before we do that, I want to cover a couple things real quick. We're going to be using I call it a little grinder, 90-degree grinder here with a cutoff wheel on it. We're going to just basically come in here and cut the welds, and like this angle iron will cut this right off. This is going to generate a lot of sparks, and it's also going to generate a lot of dust and particles. So there's a couple things that we're going to use from a safety standpoint. First, we're going to use a pair of gloves. We're going to keep gloves on. We always keep safety first. Next, I'm going to be wearing this pair of, they're actually chemical goggles. You can pick these things up at like a local farm store or pretty much anywhere. But it'll go right over, if you're like me and you wear glasses, it'll go right over top of your glasses and it'll keep all that crap right out of your eyes. Make sure you don't get anything in your eyes. It's really important. And the other thing that I didn't bring over here yet, but I'll bring it over now, is a fire extinguisher. We're going to keep a fire extinguisher close by. We've already walked around and made sure we don't have any fuel or any combustible items other than the wood tables that we're working on. So with all of our safety items in mind, let's go to work. Alright guys, we're finally back here working on this trailer again that we started before maple syrup season. Got the maple syrup stove put away and all the buckets cleaned up and put away. Now I've got my trailer frame out here, and if you remember, right before this video I showed a couple of pictures of along the ways. Now I've got the frame all put up where it needs to be. I've ground these edges down and I've got my other side rail of the frame clamped in here. We're going to turn on the welder. Actually, it's running right now. We'll tack this thing into place and then we'll put it up on the sawhorses and we'll weld it out. I want to take just a second here and show you guys the welding cart that I put together a few years ago. I wanted an arc welder, mainly because I don't have to keep any gas or anything on site, and I keep sticks that don't need to be heat treated or anything, so it's pretty maintenance free as far as that goes. But I grabbed this thing off of Craigslist, I want to say for 150 bucks, but it's AC and DC capable, so I can weld thinner material on the DC settings. And when I got it here, I needed a good place to put it, so I had a bunch of scrap metal laying around here and I needed to do some welding practice anyway, so I put this cart together. It's got 4 casters on it. You can see I've got the plug right here that my welder plugs into, and then I bought me some SO cord and I ran this over to my electrical box and put a receptacle right here. So all I've got to do, and I can run this welder, I got a few more strands of cord there, I can run this almost all the way across the shop plus the welding leads. I could actually weld way over there by the tractor. So it's pretty versatile. I also put a vise on here for holding material. It's got a nice, pretty close to flat top on it. And then my grinder over here which I could plug in and use if I needed to, and I just kind of store everything I need under it. Pretty basic, but I thought that was neat, and you guys might want to see it. Alright guys, before I weld this out, I threw this thing up here on the sawhorses, and I just took my grinder and just kind of cleaned this up a little bit. It doesn't look the prettiest right now, but I gouged a groove down in here to follow my weld bead along, and you can see where I tacked it right here. We'll kind of weld over that, and we'll try to blend that in here, but welding always works best on a clean metal, so make sure you clean your metal up and you'll have a much easier time doing whatever it is that you're doing, especially if you're welding on some old frame of metal like this with a bunch of coatings and corrosion and stuff on it. Okay guys, we're on the bottom side of the trailer frame now. We've got this side welded in. I've got the connection points for our brackets for the axle are cleaned up here. And I want to show you guys, come on in here Mike. I've marked out the center line right here with a Sharpie of where the axle is going to go. And now I can measure that. It's about 28 inches. So I've measured 14 each way. I've cleaned up where I'm going to weld this on here. I didn't have any 2-inch brackets, so I kind of made some. But long story short, we're going to put these here, 2 on each side, and we'll connect the springs into those with a bolt that'll go through here. And I've got to make a couple of link pieces for back here still, but we're going to weld these on now. We're out here in the barn. It's been a couple days since I worked on this trailer, and I wanted to show you guys the progress that I've made. I started on this frame, as you guys have been watching in this video, and I made it the dimensions that I thought were reasonable for the axle that I found on Craigslist, and got it all welded together. And I started making these brackets right here. I kind of made these U-shaped brackets to fit this axle, and when I went to the local farm store to get the pins, I'll be honest, I didn't know that they made this whole kit actually. So I bought a kit that came with these brackets for the front and the brackets for the back, which are sitting over there on the table over there, but there'll be a bracket for here. And I had already made these and welded them in here. So if I step back and look at this, the way that it would have been another couple inches, the axle a couple inches closer to the trailer deck, this thing only would have been like, I don't know, 16 inches off the ground or something. So that couple of inches actually is probably going to be just fine for me. But what we're going to do right now is I want to show you, I went back to the same farm store and I got this set of plastic bushings to put in here. This axle that I bought off of Craigslist came off of a trailer already. You can see it had rubber bushings in there that kind of stick out. And I was having a heck of a time, particularly over here, getting this thing in between the bracket, and you can see this stuff right here is kind of, when I wedged this thing in here, it just didn't want to go in there, and the pin wouldn't go in. So we're going to pull this off, and we're going to put these bushings in to this hole on each one of these things and see if we can fit what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the front ones pinned in, which will let the axle kind of flex right here, and I'll position the back ones where I want them to be, and I'll clamp them down and I'll weld them, and then I'll show you guys when I'm done. Okay, I got everything welded up here, and we're finally starting to look like a trailer. I've got the level on it here so I can start taking some measurements for the elevation of the tongue. But basically our tongue is going to connect to this beam here, and then to this beam here, and then stick out 30 inches. 30 inches is how far it needs to be out. So if someone were to jackknife this RTV, then these corners here won't hit the tires. So 30 inches is our magic number. So that's the next step. I've also cut a bunch of these pockets out to be repurposed off of that other frame that I took all of the steel from. And we're gonna do 2 of these per side. So I've got 6 of them. We'll leave the back open, but what I'll do there, this is just the right size to fit a 2x4. And we'll basically take a 2x4, I don't know, 12 inches long or something like that. And we'll put sideboards on this thing that are removable. Like I said before, the deck itself will be plywood, and then the sides will be probably like a 2x10 or something like that. And be pretty easy to take on and off. The whole objective is to pull this thing behind that ATV right there. So anyway, that's it for this week's video. Hopefully in the next one we're finishing this trailer and we can get this thing put behind the ATV and try it out. But I appreciate you watching the videos. Hope you like it. Share, subscribe, and like, and thank you for watching.